Hi guys, welcome to Weekend Dev Science 39. So this is the second part, that is the PayGuard Transaction API project. So basically this is a payments interface project. So basically about the banking system where you can't transfer money to your own account, or there is certain limit that you can't transfer negative amounts, and many such conditions. So we'll see all that. So here for the transaction status we have two status. One is completed, one is blocked. The transaction is completed or the transaction is blocked. All the transactions will belong to either of these. Then comes transaction type. So here we have the transaction type, that is three types. Deposit, that you have put the money to your account. Withdrawal, you have taken the money from the account. And transfer is you have transferred from your account to some other account. Next comes transaction. So in this, we have getters and setters. The basically here before that we have the type of the string, then followed by the status, transaction type, and then the date of what transactions happened. Then we have the uh, constructors for the transaction saying this dot timestamp is basically equal to local date, whatever the time is now, that is basically the timestamp. After that we have getters and setters, get ID, set ID, get account ID, source account ID, and then destination account ID or target account ID, followed by amount, and then type of transaction, status, timestamp, all these things will be fetching. Then comes transaction request. So this is basically when some API is called. So here we have certain rules. One is transaction amount is required. Without that you can't transact. You can't do any transaction. Then followed by amount should be greater than 0. The minimum value should be 0.01 and amount should be greater than 0. You can't transfer 0 rupees to anybody. Then comes the maximum permitted limit is 10 integers and decimals, and without that we say invalid amount format. After that we have the decimal for amount. Then we say transaction type must be provided. Are you depositing, are you withdrawing, or are you transferring? After that again we have getters and setters, but this time for API, that is basically get account ID, get source account ID, get destination account ID, and get amount, and get the type of transaction. Then comes insufficient balance exception. So when the balance is not there, if the balance is less, if you're trying to send 100 rupees and you have only 50 rupees in your account, then it has to be a insufficient balance error. So that is basically this insufficient balance error, that is runtime exception. Then self transfer exception, you can't transfer the amount from your own account to your own account. So that is again a self-transaction error that gives a 409 conflict, again runtime exception. Then comes transaction repository. So here we have the transaction repository extends a JPA repository. Then comes transaction service, which is the main brain of the project. So first here we have the constructor injection, followed by then we have the all the type of account, whatever the process is there, that is set account ID, set target account ID, set source account ID, and then amount, and then the type. So after this we have the current balance of that account. Basically the current balance is basically extracting it to the get source account ID, and then we have to check the balance. Now after that we have the first thing is basically block invalid requests first. If the request is invalid, that is basically first. If it is self transaction, if basically the get type and the source, whatever this thing transaction target ID is equal to source ID, then we say self transfer is not allowed. Then if the amount is for the withdrawal or for transfer, if the amount is less than whatever the balance is there, then we say insufficient balance. After that we have the for depositing, then we have for first deposit, it tries to put it to the account and then increases the balance with whatever the amount is being put. Or else if it is withdrawal, then we have to subtract whatever the amount is taken from current account balance. Then if it is transfer, then we have to subtract from the source account and add it to the target account, the same price, and then we have to save and return. Then we have transaction controller. This is the main manager of the program, transaction controller. So here we have the first is basically again the constructor injection, followed by whatever this is basically for HTTPS status created. This is just for the this thing application to run. Now let me run the program. All the get and post requests to work, we're creating this. Now let me run the program. So yeah, the transaction type is there. Now I want to transfer target account. Yeah, I'll execute amount, and transaction is completed. Amount is being transferred. Now I'll look at deposit. I have to deposit $50 again. Execute transaction. It is deposited now. I have to withdraw. I have to take the balance from my account. I want $100. If it won't execute transaction, yeah, now it is executed. All right, so let me sum the program. I hope you guys have understood the solution. So the test cases have passed, and that's it for this video. I'll see you next video. Thank you.